we will read about Elizabethan age. Okay? And it started from 1558 when Queen Elizabeth for the first time took the control of England, and then it lasted till it was 1604. Okay? And it's about the Queen Elizabeth I. She is called the Virgin Queen, and she didn't marry because she was devoted to serve the country. So that's why it says that she married solely to England. Okay? At this age, the age of Queen Elizabeth I, it is known as the golden age of English literature. Write it down. Okay, done? So the duration of this period, the Elizabethan period of English literature, lasted till it was 1603 and started from 1558. We're talking about Queen Elizabeth I. Okay? And this age is called the golden age of English literature specifically. What is the difference between English literature and literature in English? English literature. I say the golden age of English literature. So, is there a difference between English literature and literature in English?
Literature which are specifically created in English, England, or this which
That's
English literature.
English literature, exactly. The literature created by the English, okay, the English people, that is called English literature. And literature in English can be anything. It can be your Facebook post, which you have written in maybe poetic form or something. Okay. Okay. So why is this age called the golden age of English literature? Because she facilitated all the things about literature, like all the things that is needed. At first, say we are having lots of movies in this country. Okay. What do you need to help the film industry? You need to make people go to the theater to watch the movies so that the movie can earn something. So the more theater you will have, the more people will be encouraged to go, the more will be the benefit of the producers. And same happened in that period. And Elizabeth facilitated the writers, and he actually gave opportunity to make lots of theaters where they needed the plays. Okay, if you want to run the theater, say movie theater, you need movies. So at that time there was no movie or films, no cameras. Okay, so at that time it was the written format of dramas which would be played by a group of people on the stage. That was the thing. So the more theaters was there, the more was the need of new writings. So that's when the writings of people, the writers actually flourished. Okay. Also, the writers of this period was a bit different. Okay. How was it different? There was Renaissance, which started from Florence, Italy, and it spread throughout the Europe. Okay. So what is Renaissance? Write on the meaning of Renaissance. It's a revival of learning. Revival of learning. Okay, so this revival, like the Renaissance was an aura, where people wanted to try something new. They wanted to try something new, try new things, try mixed things. Okay, I will mix this genre with this genre, and I will see what happens. This was their vibe. Okay, and all the artists, like maybe painter, singer, and literature writers, okay, all of them was following that. They adopted new formats, new genres, new structure of writing, new topics. Okay, so they started to write on those topics. Like it was an era of experimenting. Like what will happen if I try this? Okay, this was a thing. Hence, this revival of learning affected, let's say, influenced painting. I mean, all kinds of arts. I say painting and literature. So as we are reading literature, we will focus on the literature. Okay, and look at Dr. Faustus. So Dr. Faustus was supposed to be. Well, how do you think about Dr. Faustus? Like he was not supposed to go to black magic or magic. He was supposed to follow only the words of God. He had to stick here. Why did he try to experiment something? That was our question. But you have to remember, the writer was saying in a period where they wanted to try something new. So this was a new thing. Writing, first of all, it was tragedy. Tragedy was at that moment, tragedy was a bit new. Okay, and then this kind of topic like magic, and it's totally forbidden. The way he wrote it, it's a huge controversial thing. Okay, sometimes we see that some movies are censored; they are not allowed to pass the censor board because of some scenes. So same was this thing. Like there was lots of controversial topic. The writer is talking against God through Dr. Faustus. Okay. Or maybe he is trying to convince the people not to do these kind of things. Okay, it can be anything. But that was a bit different. It was not about war. Okay, was it about war? Was it about kings and queens and princes? Was it about love stories? No, it was a bit different. It was like there is no, just imagine, there is no heroine in the story, but still you are liking it. Isn't it a bit different? I'm sorry. Okay, so the genre is different. Okay, this is a tragedy. This is written on maybe on Christianity, maybe on necromancy. We don't know. Maybe it's a blasphemy, or maybe it's a Christian writing. Okay, these are the new experiments that the writers were doing at that moment. And another thing that the players, the people who perform in the play, okay, they didn't have any fixed place. They were moving. They're like, say, king is having a program in his royal court, and he called them and said that my daughter is getting married. On that program, you have to perform something. That was their position. It was not like people would go to them and see their theaters. Okay, there was no fixed theater. They were always moving. So for the very first time in this period, some theaters were established. Okay, that's how things actually flourished, and art flourished during this period. And the most important product of this period, the most renowned products to us. See, you didn't know the name of Christopher Marlowe, right, or Thomas Lee, but you knew about William Shakespeare. I mean, maybe from class 9 or 10, you know his name, or maybe before that. Why? He's widely known. Okay, and he's a product of this period. Now, some prominent figures, prominent writers from this period can be, first of all, I say William Shakespeare. Take special note on this spelling. Shakespeare is S-H, Shakespeare. Repeat please. Shakespeare. Shakespeare. Okay. P-E-A-R-E. Okay. Shakespeare. William Shakespeare. And then comes Christopher Marlowe. Don't talk please. Christopher Marlowe, and then I say Thomas Lee. There were many more writers who were important. Shakespeare. You know Shakespeare. I think you read Sonnet 18. This is how you know him. And the very first day of this course, I told you 3 stories. One was Hamlet, and then it was Macbeth, and then what was the another one? I forgot. So this Hamlet, you know the name of Hamlet, okay? It's a famous writing, famous play or drama by William Shakespeare, and then comes Macbeth, Othello, King Lear, Julius Caesar, Antony, Cleopatra. These are all written by William Shakespeare. Okay? He wrote all kinds of dramas like tragedy, comedy, both. Okay? So what is the difference between tragedy and comedy? It's about drama. What do you think can be the difference? In modern times, we understand comedy as supposed to be something funny, right? Humorous. Okay. So if we can divide the drama, can be divided primarily into 2 types. First one I say tragedy. Second one was comedy. So if you want to understand the difference between tragedy and comedy, you just have to focus on the ending. Okay, think about Dr. Faustus. How was the ending? Was that sad? Was that the fall of Dr. Faustus? You understand the fall, right? Downfall. So, did you feel bad for Dr. Faustus?
Yes.
No, you should.
Yes.
Why not? He felt because he was a scholar. আপনার অবশ্যই খারাপ লাগা উচিত যে একটা স্কলারের সাথে দিন শেষে এটা হলো। তার নিজের জন্য যদি হয়েছে তাও আপনার একটু খারাপ লাগার কথা যে কেন হলো তো হওয়া উচিত না। Yes, he did it himself, but at least if you are angry with him, you will still say that you are a scholar. Okay, after to take it, you will feel something. Exactly. আপনি তো বুঝতেছেন সে খারাপ করছে. You should feel bad for him. So if you feel that, if the central character had a fall, then that's a tragedy. There are other characteristics we will bring in the next slide. Okay, next presentation maybe. So this was tragedy, and how will you understand the comedy? Same, the ending. If the ending was happy, that would be comedy. Clear? Sad ending, happy ending. Okay? And Shakespeare was blamed to mix these 2. Okay, so let me tell you one story. That when my grandfather died, we went to my Dada Hari, and we were so sad, we were crying. And suddenly my cousin said that আপনার তো কিছু শিং মাছ আনছিল ফ্রিজে ঢুকে রেখে চলে আসছে জেতা শিং মাছ বুঝছেন তা আমরা না সবাই হেসে দিয়েছি 3-4 জন ছিলাম হেসে দিয়েছি তো আমার কাজিন এসে বলতেছে কি তোরা এত বেহায়া হয়েছিস মানা মারা গেছে তোরা আমি কান্নাকাটি করতেছি অ্যান্ড দেন আমরা বললাম যে হ্যাঁ ঠিকই তো এটা তো ঠিক হয় নাই ওরা বলছে কি হয়েছে ওরা বললো ও হাসছে তো দেখেন my sadness is true, genuine, and this love is also genuine. So life is not like sad, and it's always sad. Sometimes in between the sadness, you get some, comedy vibes or comic vibes. And same happens when you are happy. Say we are celebrating something, and there must be someone in whose life something tragedy is happening, something bad is happening. So Shakespeare used to believe that this is the thing. Life is a mixture of tragedy and comedy. That's why we mixed that. So this was a soul tragedy. But we were serious when we were reading that one person is going to fall. But still, we got some funny scenes like the horse pulling the legs. Okay, this kind of stuff. Okay, so if it was Shakespeare or other writers, they used to mix these 2. Okay, to make a realistic vibe. Okay. So is this not clear that the Elizabethan period started from 1558 and ended in 1603? This writing, was published in 1604. Okay, and it was written in between this period. Okay, that's why it's an Elizabethan tragedy. And then comes it's about Queen Elizabeth I, and then she was a virgin queen. She never married. She was devoted to develop England and keep it safe from other countries. most prominent writer of this period. Okay. So what new happened in the forms of writing? We can see here new forms of poetry like sonnet. Okay, sonnet was new to them. The 40 lines poem having system and octave, right? Okay. The Spencerian stanza and then dramatic blank verse. What is the meaning of blank verse? Blank verse, a verse which doesn't have anything. Is it like that? What is blank verse? Verse man. Okay, class new America. Okay, it was the golden age of drama, especially for the play of Shakespeare, and inspired a wide variety of splendid prose, from historical chronicles, versions of the Holy Scriptures, pamphlets, literary criticism to the first English novels. Okay, even the first English novel was published or written in this period. Okay. During the Elizabethan age, England was experiencing the effect of Renaissance, which began as a movement in Italy and then swept to the rest of Europe in the 16th century. Okay, it was a prominent time for the revival of learning. Okay, revival means, I said revival of learning. I didn't say what is the meaning of revival. Newborn. Okay, reborn. Okay, you can say re-beginning. Okay. So this is Elizabethan age. So you will have some religious age, religious and social and political background, and definitely you can relate that to the stories. You have read the story and you will relate that this was the religious condition. This is why the writer wrote it like that. Okay, you can definitely connect that. Say when the First World War and the Second World War just finished, the whole world saw a massive destruction. The whole world was in shock. So people were asking for help from God, but there was no visible change. So people became skeptical. They became atheists. They stopped believing in God. They stopped believing in social system, any kind of system. So people were absurd. They were doing absurd things. Like they were doing something. They were living a life which was existential. They didn't think about the past. They didn't think about the present. They were living in the future. They were living in the present. Like, I want to do this, I'll just do this. They were not thinking about past or future. Okay, and they had a moral degradation. They were selfish. Okay, they become alienated. They were living with the families, but still were feeling disconnected. Okay, because it was all the effect of the Second World War and First World War. Okay, so the background will definitely help you to understand the text, why writer has written this like this. Okay, so you can just read it. Now we will read the characteristics of Elizabethan drama. This is an Elizabethan drama, right? Written in Elizabethan period. So if this kind of features, okay, these features matches this, then you can prove that this is an Elizabethan drama. Okay, this is another way to prove. So if I say, write down the characteristics of Elizabethan drama, you will write them down. And then if I say that justify Dr. Faustus as an Elizabethan drama, then you have to match all these with the events of Dr. Faustus so that you can match them. Okay, write down the characteristics, then I will explain that. Can you please pause the video? I have to take the call. Okay, so these are the characteristics. Okay, done. These are the characteristics of Elizabethan drama, and you have to match them with this. And we will, when I will teach you the Spanish trustee, then you have to match this with that. Okay, so the characteristics will always be the same. You have to just match them. If you can match 5, 6, or 7, then that's enough. You will have 9 here. So let me just give you a small brief of this. You will search this to anyone, including was twisted. Okay, it was not like Sakib Khan or Shakib Khan will marry Chaudhary Shaheb's daughter. Okay, and then Chaudhary Shaheb will be like take 2 lakhs and go away from my daughter's life. And then he will come back and say that I'm not a brave person, I want your daughter. And then that will be happy ending. You can predict the movies, right? And there are most of the movies of Bangladesh, we can just predict that this is going to happen in the story. So it was not like that. It was full of twists. Like, think about you when you were reading this. Even at the last page, you were thinking maybe he will repent. Maybe God will forgive him. Okay? So you could never guess what will happen next. There were different turns and turns and turns. When we started this story, we saw that Dr. Faustus is a great scholar of physics, great scholar of law, and then he knows everything about divinity and philosophy. So we were expecting maybe in next he will study something great like this. Okay, but what happened? He started black magic. Okay, and he was he had a great knowledge of Tibetan. So he was supposed to be a pious man, but instead he became a atheist. Okay, he started to talk blasphemy. Okay, so this was the turn. Even think about different we had 7 little saints. He was affected by them. So you cannot predict what is going to happen. Okay, the whole plot is a bit different. Okay. Then comes round characters. I explained the round characters thing. What is round characters? If it's good character, you will say it's white. If it's bad character, you will say it's black. But if it's mixture of both, then you can say you will not decide what is which. So that will be gray characters. Okay. So this is what is called the round characters. They're circling around good and bad, good and bad, good and bad. We saw that he was a good person when we started the story. Okay, scholar and good person, without any sin. And then he started necromancy, what was bad. And then he wished that one day he will give some charities. Okay, then we felt like, yeah, he's a good person. And then again, he continued to go against God. So here he's a bad person. Even he wanted to repent several times, but he couldn't because of the devils. So here we can see that he wants to be good, but devils are not allowing him to. Okay, so this is where we see him as a round character. Then comes diverse themes. You can explain this. I talked about the themes in the last class. There were different themes, right? Good versus evil, magic, supernatural elements, 7 deadly sins. There are different things. Okay, so writings of this period, you can find out different topics. Okay, it was not based on only love story, only war, not only one thing. It was different or diverse things. Okay, one book but diverse things. And then comes the mix of verse and prose. There are poems, mixture of poems and prose. Okay, both are mixed in this period's writings. Have you read Shesher Kavita by Rabindranath Tagore? It's a mixture, it's a novel, right? It's a mixture of verse and prose. And then comes soliloquies. Explain soliloquy.
Talking to yourself.
The thoughts. See, it's not like the thing I'm doing here, this is monologue, I'm talking. Sometimes it's dialogue when you are participating. But say you guys are not talking, I'm saying something for you guys. So that would be monologue. Okay, I'm talking alone. Okay, or say you guys are not here, I'm talking aloud. That is monologue. But what if my inner thoughts are somehow written or said? Okay, that would be soliloquy. Then comes comic relief. This book was a tragedy. The tone would be sad, melancholy. Okay, the tone would be like that. But what happened? In between we found some funny scenes. Okay, so you were exhausted, you were feeling tired, you were feeling sad, and suddenly there was a comic scene. Don't talk. And suddenly there was a comic scene, and you felt a bit relieved from the melancholy feelings. Okay. And then comes dramatic irony. I mentioned that yesterday. I say that what your hero does is supposed to take him to better position, but instead it is the cause of his fall. Okay, Dr. Foster's practiced necromancy so that he can be more powerful. Instead, he became the most vulnerable person. Okay, even the devils were tearing him apart. Okay? And then comes sets and costumes. As this was the starting of theaters, the sets and costumes were really simple. They actually focused on the story and the acting. Okay. And supernatural elements appear. Say in this story we saw good angel, bad angel. What is the meaning of supernatural?
Something of
Both
the above natural.
Above natural, yes. So we saw good angel, bad angel, then seven deadly sins.
Devils.
No, seven deadly sins is personification. Okay. What is personification?
Human like characteristics.
Human traits to things that are not human. Okay. So my characteristics, my bad habits, say greed or something, that cannot be a person. So if I am considering him as a person, that will be personification. Okay. So these are the characteristics of Elizabethan drama, and you can match